I need to provide some very brief context so these stories make sense. Road trips are supposed to be about freedom, adventure, and making memories with friends. But sometimes, the open road leads you to places you never expected to go. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true stories from real people who learned that danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just appears in your rearview mirror, or at a rest stop, or in the person sitting right next to you. Before we begin, let me know where you're listening from. Are you on a road trip right now? Pulled over at a rest stop? Safe at home? Drop it in the comments. Let's get started. Story 1. The Convoy. I need to give you some background first because without it, this whole thing won't make sense. This happened during spring break of my junior year in college, back in 2017. I went to school in northern Colorado, and a group of us decided to drive down to New Mexico for a hiking trip in the desert. Nothing too ambitious, just a long weekend exploring some trails, camping under the stars, getting away from campus for a bit. There were 6 of us total, split between 2 cars. I was driving my Honda CR-V with my roommate Marcus and our friend Jenna. The other car was a Jeep Cherokee driven by our friend Tyler, with his girlfriend Sarah and another guy named Dev. We left on a Thursday afternoon, planning to drive straight through to our campsite, which was about 8 hours south. The route was simple. Interstate 25 most of the way, then some smaller highways once we got closer to our destination. Everything was completely normal for the first 4 hours. We stopped once for gas and snacks around 7 p.m. somewhere in southern Colorado. The sun was setting and we were making good time. Tyler and I agreed to stay in convoy formation. His Jeep in front, my CR-V following about 50 yards behind. It just made sense to stay together, especially once it got dark. Around 8:30 p.m. we crossed into New Mexico. The landscape changed quickly. Fewer towns, longer stretches between exits, darker roads. The kind of darkness you don't really get near cities. Complete, total blackness beyond the reach of your headlights. About 20 minutes after crossing the state line, I noticed headlights behind us. Nothing unusual about that. We were on a highway. But after a few miles, I realized the vehicle behind us was maintaining the exact same distance. Not passing, not falling back. Just staying there. Marcus noticed too. That truck's been behind us for a while, he said. I checked my mirrors. It was a pickup truck, dark colored, though it was hard to tell exactly in the darkness. The headlights were bright, those aftermarket LED ones that some people install. Probably just going the same direction, I said. But 10 minutes later, when Tyler's Jeep took an exit to switch highways, the truck followed us, still maintaining that same distance. Okay, that's a little weird, Jenna said from the back seat. I wasn't too concerned yet. People take the same routes. It happens. But then Tyler's Jeep slowed down a bit, and so did I to maintain our spacing. The truck behind us slowed down too. Exactly matching our speed. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm texting Tyler. A few seconds later my phone buzzed. Tyler had texted the group chat. You guys seeing this truck? Marcus responded, yeah. He's been following us for like 30 minutes. Tyler, I'm gonna speed up a bit. See what he does. I watched as the Jeep ahead of us accelerated. I sped up to follow. And sure enough, the truck behind us sped up too. Still maintaining that same distance. Now I was getting nervous. Tyler texted again, next exit is in 15 miles. We're gonna pull off there. If he follows, we call the cops. We drove those 15 miles in tense silence. I kept glancing in my rearview mirror. The truck never changed position. Never got closer, never fell back. Just followed. When we reached the exit, Tyler took it. I followed. And the truck followed us both. The exit led to a small town, just a gas station, a couple of houses, and a truck stop. Tyler pulled into the truck stop parking lot. I pulled in right behind him. We all got out quickly, staying close to our vehicles under the bright parking lot lights. The truck drove past the entrance to the truck stop, continued down the road, and disappeared. We all stood there for a moment looking at each other. What the hell was that? Sarah asked. I don't know, Tyler said, but I got his plate. I'm calling the police. While Tyler called the local police department to report it, the rest of us went into the truck stop to use the bathroom and get coffee. When we came back out, Tyler was off the phone. They said they'd send a patrol car to check the area, but without him actually doing anything threatening, there's not much they can do. They said we should wait here for about 30 minutes, then get back on the highway. If we see him again, call 911 immediately. We waited 45 minutes to be safe. Then we got back on the road. For the next hour, everything seemed fine. No sign of the truck. We started to relax, convinced it had just been some local who happened to be going the same direction and then turned off onto a side road. Then around 11 p.m. I saw headlights behind us again. "No," I said out loud. "What?" Marcus looked back. "The same truck." I was certain. Same headlights, same distance. "It's him again." This time I didn't wait. I called Tyler immediately. "He's back," I said as soon as he answered. "I see him. I'm calling 911. I watched as Tyler's Jeep accelerated. I followed, pushing my CRV to 85, then 90 miles per hour. The truck stayed with us. Tyler was on the phone with 911, giving them our location, our direction, describing the truck. The dispatcher told him to stay on the highway and that they were sending units to intercept. We drove like that for maybe 10 minutes, flying down the dark highway with this truck following us. Then I saw something ahead, flashing lights. A police car was pulled across the highway with its lights on, forming a partial roadblock. Tyler slowed and pulled over. I pulled over behind him. And the truck didn't stop. It swerved around the police car and kept going. 2 more police cars came from the opposite direction, lights flashing, and took off after the truck. A state trooper approached our vehicles and asked if we were okay. We told him everything, the initial following, the truck stop, the fact that it had come back and followed us again. The trooper took our statements and told us to wait. About 20 minutes later, another trooper pulled up. "We stopped the vehicle about 6 miles up the road," he said. "There were 3 men inside. They're being questioned now." "What did they say?" Tyler asked. The trooper hesitated. "They claimed they were just driving to Albuquerque. Said they didn't realize they were following you." "That's bullshit," Marcus said. "They followed us for over an hour, through multiple highways, matched our speed exactly." The trooper nodded. "We know. We're running their IDs and checking the vehicle. If you want to file a formal report, you can do that now." We filed the report. The trooper told us they'd be in touch if they found anything. We continued to our campsite, finally arriving around 2 a.m. None of us slept well that night. The next day I got a call from the state police. The truck had been reported stolen 3 days earlier from a town about 200 miles away. The 3 men in it all had outstanding warrants. One of them had a weapon in the vehicle. The detective I spoke with didn't say it directly, but the implication was clear. We had been targeted. The truck had been following us with intent. What were they planning to do? I asked. "Hard to say for certain," the detective said. "But based on their history and what we found in the vehicle, nothing good." He told me that the men claimed they were looking for an opportunity to pull us over, maybe fake a breakdown, get us to stop and help, then rob us. The fact that there were 2 vehicles complicated that plan, which might be why they kept following, waiting for one of us to split off. We cut the trip short. Left the next morning and drove straight back to Colorado. We stayed in convoy the whole way, and Tyler called the police immediately anytime a vehicle stayed behind us for more than a few minutes. I still think about it sometimes. About how close we came to stopping on that dark highway. About what would have happened if Tyler hadn't been paying attention, if we hadn't stayed together, if we hadn't called the police when we did. Road trips don't scare me anymore. But I never drive at night on empty highways without thinking about that truck. And I always pay attention to who's in my rearview mirror. Story 2, The Hitchhiker. I've always been a really private person, so sharing this story publicly goes against every instinct I have. But I was recently thinking about how it would be a shame to take this to my grave without warning someone else who might be in the same situation I was. So here goes. This happened in the summer of 2015. I was 26 years old, working a dead-end job in Seattle, and I needed a change. I'd been planning a solo road trip across the country for months, Seattle to Boston, taking my time, seeing things I'd never seen, clearing my head. I left on a Saturday in early July. Spent the first few days driving through Montana and North Dakota, staying in cheap motels, eating at diners, enjoying the solitude. On day 4, I was driving through South Dakota on Highway 90 heading east. It was late afternoon, maybe 5 p.m., and I was starting to think about where I'd stop for the night. That's when I saw him. A guy on the side of the road, thumb out, backpack at his feet. He looked to be in his early 30s, clean cut, wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Nothing about him seemed dangerous or suspicious. I've never picked up a hitchhiker before. My parents drilled into me from a young age that you never, ever pick up strangers on the road. But something made me slow down. Maybe it was the loneliness of the trip. Maybe it was the fact that he looked harmless. Maybe I was just being stupid. I pulled over about 20 yards past him and waited. He jogged up to the passenger window, smiling. "Hey, thanks for stopping. I'm headed to Mitchell. Is that on your route?" Mitchell was about 40 miles ahead. I was planning to drive past it anyway. "Yeah, I can get you there," I said. He threw his backpack in the back seat and climbed in front. I really appreciate it. I've been out here for like 2 hours. We started driving. For the first 10 minutes, everything was fine. He introduced himself as Aaron. Said he was traveling from Wyoming to his sister's place in Minnesota. His car had broken down 2 days ago, he'd sold it for parts, and now he was hitchhiking the rest of the way. The story seemed plausible. He was friendly, polite, made normal conversation about the weather and the landscape. But then I noticed something. He kept looking at my GPS. Not just glancing at it, but really studying it. Looking at the route, the exits coming up, the distance to different towns. "You take this route often?" he asked. "No, first time," I said. "Where are you headed?" "Final destination, Boston." He nodded slowly. "Long drive. You doing it alone?" That question made something in my stomach tighten. "Yeah," I said. I don't know why I told him the truth. I should have lied. "That's brave," he said. "Lot of empty road between here and there. Lot of places where you wouldn't see another car for hours." The way he said it wasn't quite threatening, but it wasn't friendly either. It was observational, clinical. I kept driving, but now I was alert, paying attention to his body language, his tone, where his hands were. A few miles later, he asked if I could pull over at the next rest stop. Said he needed to use the bathroom. There was a rest stop coming up in about 5 miles. I told him okay. But as we got closer, that feeling in my stomach got worse. Something was wrong. I couldn't articulate what, but every instinct I had was screaming at me not to stop. When we reached the rest stop, I saw that it was nearly empty. Just one semi-truck parked at the far end. No other cars. Aaron turned to me. "You can just pull in over there," he said, pointing to a spot far from the truck, near the tree line. No, I didn't pull in. I kept driving. "Hey, I thought you were gonna stop," he said. "Changed my mind. I'll drop you at the next town." His expression shifted. Just slightly. The friendliness disappeared. "I really need to use the bathroom," he said. "There'll be gas stations in Mitchell." He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "You don't trust me." I kept my eyes on the road. "I don't know you." "That's fair," he said quietly. We drove in silence for maybe 5 minutes. Then he spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you have family expecting you in Boston? Like people who know your route? Your schedule?" My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Why are you asking me that?" "Just curious. Solo road trips can be dangerous. Good to have people checking in on you." "I have people checking in," I lied. "That's smart," he said. Another few minutes of silence. Then I noticed he was looking at my phone in the cup holder between us. "Nice phone," he said. "New model?" I moved the phone to my lap without responding. We were about 15 miles from Mitchell when he spoke again. "Actually, you can just drop me here. There's a side road coming up where my buddy's meeting me." I looked ahead. There was a side road, barely visible, leading off into farmland. No houses. No buildings. Just fields and trees. "I thought you were going to Mitchell," I said. "Plans changed. My buddy can pick me up here." Every part of me knew that if I stopped on that side road, something bad was going to happen. "I'll take you to Mitchell," I said. "It's only a few more miles." His jaw tightened. I said, "Drop me here." And I said, "I'll take you to Mitchell." For the first time, his mask slipped completely. "Pull over. Now." I didn't pull over. I accelerated. He reached for the wheel. I jerked it away from him, swerving slightly but maintaining control. "Touch this wheel again and I'll drive us into a ditch at 80 miles an hour. Your choice." He pulled his hand back, but his expression was cold now. Calculating. I grabbed my phone with one hand, keeping the other on the wheel, and dialed 911. The operator answered. I spoke clearly and loudly. "I'm on Highway 90 eastbound, about 10 miles west of Mitchell, South Dakota. I have a male passenger who is threatening me. I need police assistance immediately." The operator started asking questions, but Aaron cut in, speaking to the phone. "This is a misunderstanding. Tell her it's a misunderstanding." I ignored him. Gave the operator my license plate number, description of my car, described Aaron. Aaron tried one more time. "Seriously, just drop me off anywhere. I'll get out." "No problem." "Stay on the line," the operator told me. "Units are being dispatched." We drove the longest 10 minutes of my life. Aaron sat rigid in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead. I kept the phone on speaker, the operator talking to me, keeping me calm. Finally, I saw lights ahead. 2 police cars parked across the highway. I slowed down and stopped. Aaron didn't move. Officers approached both sides of my car. One tapped on Aaron's window. "Step out of the vehicle, sir." Aaron got out slowly. They separated us immediately, took our statements. When I told them what happened, the questions he'd asked, the attempt to get me to stop at the rest area, the side road, grabbing for the wheel, the officers exchanged looks. They ran Aaron's ID. Came back 20 minutes later. "Do you know who you picked up?" one officer asked me. He said his name was Aaron. That's not his real name. He's got outstanding warrants in 3 states. Assault, robbery, 1 attempted kidnapping charge from 6 years ago. My legs almost gave out. The officer continued. "We need you to come to the station and make a formal statement. He's being arrested, but we need your account of what happened." I gave my statement. Found out later that Aaron, his real name was something else which I won't share, had been flagged by multiple police departments for targeting solo travelers. His method was always the same. Hitchhike, gain trust, get the driver to stop somewhere isolated, then rob them. Sometimes worse. The phone he'd been admiring? They found a knife in his backpack, along with zip ties, duct tape, and a second ID. I think about the moment I decided not to pull over at that rest stop. About the instinct that told me something was wrong even when I couldn't articulate why. I finished my road trip, made it to Boston. But I never picked up another hitchhiker. And I never will. Because sometimes the person asking for help is the most dangerous person on the road. Story 3, the service station. I'm going to keep certain details vague because I don't want this traced back to me, but I need to tell this story because I think it could help someone else avoid what I went through. This happened about 3 years ago. I was driving from Phoenix, Arizona to Denver, Colorado for a job interview. It was a big opportunity and I'd planned the trip meticulously. Leave Friday afternoon, drive until about 10 p.m., stay in a hotel, finish the drive Saturday morning, interview Monday. Everything went according to plan for the first leg. I stopped in Flagstaff for dinner, then continued north on I-17, planning to stop in a town called Winslow for the night. But around 9 p.m., somewhere between Flagstaff and Winslow, my car started making a noise. A grinding, clicking noise from somewhere under the hood. I'm not a car person, but I knew it wasn't normal. I checked my GPS. The next town was about 30 miles ahead. I decided to chance it and keep driving. The noise got worse. 5 miles later, my check engine light came on. Then my oil pressure light. I pulled over on the shoulder and called AAA. The operator told me a tow truck would take about 2 hours to reach me. 2 hours sitting on a dark highway shoulder didn't appeal to me, but I didn't have much choice. I was getting ready to settle in when I noticed something in my GPS. There was a service station about 3 miles ahead, just off the highway. It didn't show up as a regular gas station. It was labeled Auto Repair. I figured if I could limp my car there, at least I'd be off the highway and maybe, if I was lucky, they could take a look at it that night. I started the car carefully and drove slowly to the exit. The service station was visible from the off-ramp, a small building with a single garage bay and a couple of gas pumps out front. The lights were on. I pulled into the lot and got out. The place looked old but maintained. There was a sign that said 24-hour service above the garage door. I walked to the front office. Through the window I could see someone sitting at a desk. I knocked. A man in his 50s, wearing a grease-stained work shirt, came to the door. "Help you?" he asked. I explained the situation. The noise, the lights, the fact that I was trying to make it to Winslow. He listened, nodded. "Pop your hood. Let me take a look." I did. He spent about 5 minutes poking around under the hood with a flashlight, then straightened up. "You've got a pretty serious oil leak. Looks like your gasket's blown. You drive this thing much further, you're gonna seize the engine. Can you fix it?" I asked. He shook his head. "Not tonight. I'd need to order the part. Earliest I could get it is Tuesday, maybe Wednesday." My heart sank. "I have a job interview in Denver on Monday." He shrugged. "I can't help with that. But I can tell you that you're not driving this car there. You try, you'll be stranded somewhere a lot worse than here." I called AAA back and canceled the tow. Asked the mechanic if there was a hotel nearby where I could stay. "There's a motel about a mile down the road," he said. "I can have my son run you over there if you want." I hesitated. I didn't love the idea of getting into a car with a stranger, but I was exhausted and I didn't see another option. "That would be great. Thank you." He walked to the garage and called out, "Kyle, come here a second." A younger guy, maybe early 20s, emerged from the garage. The mechanic explained the situation and Kyle nodded. "Yeah, I can take her. Let me just wash up." While Kyle washed his hands, the mechanic asked for my keys so he could pull my car into the garage overnight. I gave them to him. Kyle came out a minute later and led me to a pickup truck parked behind the building. We got in and he started driving. The motel was, as promised, about a mile down the road. A small, single-story building with maybe a dozen rooms. Kyle pulled into the parking lot. "Here you go," he said. I thanked him and got out. He drove away and I walked to the office. The guy at the desk was watching TV and barely looked up when I asked for a room. $75 a night, he said. I paid with my credit card, got a key and found my room. It was basic but clean. I called my contact in Denver, explained that I'd have to reschedule the interview, then tried to settle in for the night. But I couldn't shake this feeling. Something about the whole situation felt off. I couldn't pinpoint what, but I was uneasy. Around 11 p.m. I decided to call AAA back. I wanted a second opinion on my car. They said they could send a tow truck in the morning to take it to a different mechanic in Winslow. I felt better after making that call and finally fell asleep. The next morning, I called the service station to let them know I was having the car towed elsewhere. No one answered. I tried 3 more times over the next hour. Still no answer. The tow truck arrived around 9 a.m. I rode with the driver to the service station. When we pulled into the lot, I felt my stomach drop. The lights were off. The garage door was closed. And there was a chain across the driveway with a sign that said, "Closed." "This is the place?" the tow truck driver asked. "Yeah, but it was open last night." The mechanic told me he'd fix my car. The driver got out and walked to the office door. Peered through the window. "Doesn't look like anyone's been here in a while. You sure this is it?" I got out and looked for myself. The office was empty. Not just empty of people, but empty of furniture. No desk. No chairs. No computer. Nothing. The garage bay door had a padlock on it. "Where's your car?" the driver asked. "It should be in the garage." The mechanic said he'd pull it in overnight. The driver walked around the building, trying to see through windows. "I don't see any car." My heart started racing. "What do you mean you don't see it?" "I mean there's nothing in there. The garage is empty." I called the police. When the officers arrived, I explained everything. The breakdown, the mechanic, the son who drove me to the motel, coming back to find the place closed and my car gone. They took my statement, checked the building, confirmed that it was indeed empty and appeared to have been closed for some time. "You said you gave them your keys?" one officer asked. "Yes, to the mechanic, so he could pull my car into the garage." The officer and his partner exchanged looks. "Ma'am, this building has been abandoned for at least 6 months. There's no service station operating here." I stared at him. "That's impossible. I was here last night. There were lights on." A mechanic looked at my car. His son drove me to the motel. "What motel?" "The one down the road. About a mile." They drove me to the motel. The same building I'd stayed at. But when we got there, the office was different. Different clerk. I asked about the guy from last night. "We haven't had anyone working the overnight shift in 2 weeks, the new clerk said. I showed them my credit card statement. The charge from the motel was there, but it was for a different motel in a different town 20 miles away. The police ran my car's information. My car had been reported at a chop shop in New Mexico 2 days later. Completely stripped. The mechanic, the son, the service station, it was all a setup. An elaborate scam to steal vehicles from stranded travelers. The police told me there had been similar reports over the past year. People breaking down near that exit, getting directed to the service station, handing over their keys and never seeing their cars again. They never caught the people responsible. The service station building belonged to a property company that didn't even know people were using it. The motel clerk who checked me in didn't exist. Someone had rigged a fake credit card reader that copied my information. I lost my car, my job interview, and my sense of security on the road. Now, when I travel, I never stop at places that aren't verified on Google Maps with recent reviews. I never hand my keys to someone I don't know. And I always trust my gut when something feels wrong. Because sometimes, that grinding noise in your engine isn't the most dangerous thing on the road. Sometimes it's the person offering to help.